Subscribe.
That's gotta be. What's in that cup?
Just
Hey, what's in the cup? Nothing. It's all good. Okay. So, and we'll just kick it kind of right off there. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. We are at Sprinkler Madness General Air Products here in Philly, just outside of Philly. I'm with, there's no way I would remember everybody's name, so we'll just go through the gauntlet and kind of give everybody's quick introduction.
John Edwards, Jeff Lewis,
Hooper Loscombe,
Matt McTamney,
Kevin Gray,
Michael Newell,
Okay, now tell me where you're from. This is the whole point, guys.
John Edwards out of Toronto, Canada.
Jeff Lewis, VSC Fire and Security out of Richmond, Virginia.
Hooper Loscombe out of Richmond, Virginia with Eagle Fire.
Matt McTamney, Ferguson Fire and Fabrication, Warrington, Pennsylvania.
Kevin Gray, Shambaugh Fire Protection, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Michael Newell, Belvedere LLC out of Houston, Texas.
Hold it now, hang on. John Edwards, Troy Life and Fire, Toronto, Canada.
Hey,
We knew you were going to self-correct.
I was trying to get away with not giving you that shameless plug, being the other sprinkler contractor from Canada, but that's okay. We'll go back. I can edit it in. That's fine. So basically what we're doing today is we're going to talk a little bit about kind of the state of the industry in North America. Canadian representation, small, but albeit we've got Canadian representation in a lot of the U.S. There's been a lot of changes in the industry around North America the past 10 years, and I kind of want to get everybody's thoughts on it. Where do you guys see the industry heading from where it was 10 years ago? How do you see the change from 10 years ago to now? We'll start across there.
Again, we've seen a lot of retrofit work, a lot of new construction, a lot of heavy industrial as well. But again, a lot of retrofit going back nursing homes, seniors care, a lot of that right across the country. Adding protection where it wasn't and is now really needed. So
Yeah,
that's been a big piece.
That legislation in Ontario that kind of kicked off, I think it was around 2012, 2013, going back and retrofitting existing nursing homes with sprinklers, was great for the industry.
Absolutely.
In Ontario, Canada, anyways. How are you guys seeing your changes?
Okay, so a couple of different things. First of all, I'm on the inspection and testing side. So first of all, inspection and testing, since I started in this industry back in the 90s, has just taken off. You know, it used to be where you would put your sick, you're lame, and you're lazy. And now it's a professional, subfield with certifications, and most fire protection contractors out there are building service and inspection into their offerings. It's a very it's usually recession proof, usually, not always, but one of the things on large contracting or install is warehouse and distribution. With the changes in the way people are buying their goods, warehouse and distribution is a huge part of it now. So warehouse and distribution centers popping up everywhere.
What about yourself?
So what I see is the high-tech industry is changing the types of systems that we're putting in. So, it's very rare that you put a wet shotgun riser in a building anymore. There's pre-action, nitrogen, things to make the system last forever. The advent of industries that need higher levels of fire protection seem to be climbing. So, I see a lot more intricate type sprinkler systems being put together. The problem with that, Jeff Lewis and I, we've on a board together where we're trying to bring young folks in the industry to do the installation. And the biggest problem that I'm seeing is we're running out of folks that want to do this work and that are capable of doing this work.
100%, yeah. And
Aside from the hardware, it's a people thing.
We're all staffing shortages. In other words, we're labor restricted.
100%. Are you guys seeing those same challenges?
Oh, yeah. I agree with everything that was said there. I mean, nowadays I'm seeing contractors that have been in the industry for 20 years are saying, well, I'm closing up shop soon because I don't have anyone that wants to do this.
Wow.
And specifically to the points that were made earlier about, we're seeing more requirements pop up in code, and definitely a place in the industry now for corrosion mitigation.
Yes.
A lot of corrosion mitigation, and to your point about warehouses and storage facilities, I mean, you are seeing it more and more. But aside from that, because you think from the early 70s. Now I started in fire protection in 2005, so I'm relatively a latecomer to some of the people that have been in the industry for a while, and there has been a paradigm shift, in my opinion, in the last 20 years, mainly focused on being able to staff people, and not only contractors am I seeing going out and saying, hey, we want to close up shop. I see just technical people in general, anything that has anything to do with doing any type of technical work, man. They're having a difficult time finding people to do it.
So there's been a big push in the industry, kind of across the board. I'll say, the competitive podcast, the Dope and Tape guys have been really good with trying to bring awareness to the trades into schools, into high schools and stuff like that. Do you guys think that's the big push that we need to be doing, is bringing it into high school?
That's my new role.
Yeah.
That's your new role, eh?
That's a new job.
That is my, no, so VSC's making a significant investment in it, so I'm now the new VP of Technical Workforce Development. And working with the Virginia chapter of the AFSA, we've actually broken into some high schools, worked with them where we're actually gotten a...
Not broken into.
Yeah, well, by hook or by crook.
However you gotta do it, right? Yeah.
But no, we've done a number of projects with some very forward-thinking school districts, and really they're looking for industry partners.
100%.
If you look at some of what these states are doing, they want to attract young people into, we were since the 1980s, we were in a college for all. And everyone gets to college. And I'm not going to sit here and quote stats of what that looks like. Fact is, schools are looking and saying, hey, look, we messed up. This isn't the way. Yep. So they're looking at, 40, in some cases, 40 to almost 50% of their student population is looking for something other than college, or at least not college right away. Yep. So when they're looking at us going, wow, there's trades, there are white collar jobs coming in with apprenticeships and things where these are good jobs, good paying jobs for these young people to get into. So my job is to build these bridges between our industry and the schools and get them in. And we've found, where there's a paradigm shift. It used to be we'd go to a career fair and the parents would walk up and say, well, look, I want my kid to go to college. Now we have parents walking up and going, okay, look, college isn't on the radar right now. What do you guys offer? Yeah. And really what's happening is that shift is taking place in the middle schools because we really have to re-educate parents.
Right, yeah.
It's one thing for the kid may be bored to death in a traditional classroom, and that's not a bad, look, it's not a one-size-fits-all.
That's right.
Agreed.
But they're sitting there and they could be bored to death and they're trying to talk to their parents going, look, I don't want to do this. This is not the direction I want to go. Yeah. And the parents aren't listening because it's college. The way to start shifting that is the earlier you get to the students and begin to introduce trades or other outlets, the parents then become educated.
Agreed.
So that by the time they're in high school and have decided on a career and technical education course or something, they're in a much better place. But the key is really get out there. And there are some school districts out there that are just, they're out there getting it done. We're working with a number of them across many states, and I'm looking forward to working with more. But yeah, like I said, VSC is looking at it and goes, look, this is our future. If we don't develop these pipelines now, we're not going to have it. And so that has become my role. So that just shows you how important it is.
So from a contractor standpoint, that's a pretty good synopsis generally across North America that you're getting into with the skilled trades. From an engineering standpoint, how are you seeing people coming into the industry from an engineering standpoint? Is it still college, university, that kind of thing, or are people
kind of the
more or
same
less
thing.
Jumping into the office?
Kind of the same thing. So with the skilled trades lapse and people getting pushed towards colleges, 20 years ago or whatever, it's leading to a lot of blue collar businesses going out of business. Either they sell to a private equity firm, or they're not able to organically grow within their company to give those reins to somebody else. So I don't necessarily know that a lot of the engineering side are coming directly from college, like high school kids going to college to get into this. I didn't know about fire protection. I was a volunteer firefighter. Answered a Craigslist ad and got into fire protection. So it's like a super one-off. Either you come from a legacy of fire protection, people,
None of us got in this.
Or you know, am I the only multi-generational guy here? Third generation sprinkler.
Are you third generation?
I'm a third generation sprinkler.
Wow.
I got two boys that are 11 and 12 at home. Like, they're fucked. They don't know. I'm sorry, but I mean, what do you cut my hair and get black water that comes out of it. Those kids are the same thing. They've never had to question that kind of thing, right? Like, what are you guys going to do when you grow up? Like, what do I want to do or what am I going to do? You're right. Mine, yes. please, James and Luke, be doctors, whatever, you got a job, right? As long as you work hard. Don't be lazy.
Well, also, I think also, not just the bringing in the new guys, but let's not forget about our seasoned guys. We need to
100%.
continuously,
Yeah.
the more education we get for those guys,
Yeah.
the continuous education is a huge thing, and we put a lot of time and effort into that.
Yep.
Because, not everybody gets to see the new VXR dry system or the new DDX reliable, whatever
Yeah,
it may be,
yep.
and they need brushed up on that.
Yep.
So, and sprinkling the apprentices with them, and not only for that, but remind the fitters that are there that we need to train the young generation coming in,
Yeah.
and don't be scared of losing the keys to that truck or that cell phone. Those guys are paying for our retirements,
100%. So
and we need to beat that into their heads.
I'll say that it's been a big push for the next generation. I've been very vocal on that since I started doing the podcast, and even before then, is when you get your ticket, you're not done learning. You get the ticket. All you proved is that you know the bare minimum to pass the test. The NFPA 13 changes every 3 years, right? And I mean, I joke around with my dad all the time. The book that he wrote, the standard, when he wrote his test to get it, was a pamphlet, right? Mine's a
400
textbook.
pages
Huge difference.
book,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
To your point, that I think the industry has suffered with continuous education and training of new systems and what's capable of these systems with some of our more experienced folks, because we need them out there hanging pipe.
Yeah.
We need them, so you can't afford the time to put that guy in a class, because you got schedules to meet with customers and that sort of
Well,
thing.
but
I argue the
double-edged-
opposite.
I would
That's a
say the
double-edged
opposite,
sword.
because
Yeah.
you're
You gotta
sending a
make
guy
that
in to fail.
You can't afford not to train the guys
Because if that guy goes in and installs that system wrong, you're actually costing man labor
100%.
and money.
No, I agree with you. I'm saying that's the cause and effect of it.
And flipping to service, you send an untrained guy in just because he passed a nice little 2 or 3 tests and got certified and doesn't actually know how the system operates, and he dumps it and floods 2 or 3 floors
Right.
of a high-rise condo.
Yeah.
Or, God forbid, an IDF, MDF room. When you're a couple $100,000 in equipment costs.
Yeah.
And that's something else that we've been doing at Shamball, is taking contract apprentices, bringing them in as a 4th, 5th year into the service department.
Sure.
And trying to show them how you can track a system down, how the system is already broke when you're there, you're not going to break it anymore.
That's what. Well,
Dive
well,
into it and fix it.
let me tell you a few
working on it,
stories.
I've heard that before, but I'm not so sure that's
The highlight reel is a different.
As well as it can prove
I
that
wouldn't throw
wrong.
that
Still have to do
I
that.
wouldn't throw that challenge out there. Yeah, I wouldn't throw that challenge out there. Somebody may take you up on it.
And that's fine. But we got to fix that system before we.
I got you.
So I think another big issue with the training is, I remember, I don't know, 5, 6 year into design or whatever, I was working with an older, more seasoned designer, and a lot of those older guys think with that old school mentality of, I'm training you to take my job. And we need to get the older people, the more seasoned people out of that mentality, because if you can train the younger generation, you're worth way more than if you're a good foreman or if you're a good designer. If you're able to train other people, it opens up so much more opportunity, not just for you, but for your company.
Yeah, you're training guys to work beside them, not
Yeah.
take your job, take your position.
But in reality, that is what they're doing. In fact, that's what we've always told them. Said, look, if you want to move up, somebody has to take your spot. And if the better you do at training your replacement, that means you're more valuable when you move up into the next role, because you've trained your level to take over. So you at least are replacing yourself. So in reality, that's what they're doing, but it doesn't necessarily have to have a negative connotation.
Yeah, you just
to it.
gotta
They're
get away
thinking-
from that old school
Yeah, they're just
mentality
thinking,
of like, I'm
well,
training them
you
just
know,
to take my job for a lower pay.
That natural progression or evolution of a sprinkler man is difficult, more so now than it used to be.
Yeah.
You used to be a helper in the field, and you become an apprentice, and then you become a foreman. You may come in the office, be a designer, and then you become a salesman and work your way up the ranks. And it's become so fractured now because you have people entering the workforce at different points.
Yeah.
So it's been a little difficult to handle.
But I also believe, as in my case as a fitter, I've had apprentices underneath me, and I said, hey, when you become smarter, better, and faster than me, you can have it all. Just remember, who give you the groundwork to do this. And
Right.
to this day, I have apprentices that say, if you ever need a job, let me
Oh, yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
Come on my crew.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mentality that the older generation has to start thinking about and moving towards.
100%.
But if you just that older generation, if you stop and think about it, they went to school, They learned, then they went and did their apprenticeship or whatever. So they learned, then they went to work. So you learned and you went to work. In the 21st century, really, when you're looking at the next generation, they're working to learn. It's a completely different paradigm shift, and we as an industry have to understand that. In other words, this is what that younger generation is coming in. They're going to work to learn, so they're going to want constant learning, experiences. They're going to want to constantly try something new. They're going to be far more receptive to taking these updates and getting, even if it's 5 or 10 minute blocks of instruction on some new product or something. It's just a very different thing. I was joking with, we were at a trade show one day, and there was a guy I knew for years. He was joking with me. He goes, well, when you and I grew up, he says, we graduated high school. We went to Myrtle Beach for a week. He said, then we come back and we work till we die. And I'm like, man, I really hope there's something. I really hope there's something else in the middle of that. Nothing against Myrtle Beach, or I hope a week in Myrtle Beach is not the pinnacle of my life at that point. But it was just kind of funny. But I'm like, no, there's a lot more. But this younger generation, they want the learning experience, and they're willing to put in the time. As long as they can see what the reward is, and that's the important part. You're going to have to show them. You have to put it. You're going to have to tell them the why before you get the how.
Yeah, I do like to think that your experience on the podcast now kind of bumps Myrtle Beach down a couple.
I think it would. I think so.
So school, Myrtle Beach. You were on the podcast.
That's this may be a whole new. Boy, we're grim
Not
around
tomorrow.
here.
I'm not saying today or tomorrow.
I was kind of hoping before we got to the podcast.
Let's not. We don't need that kind of content. Right? I don't need to be working on anybody here.
I think another thing with like the younger generation is like he was saying, kind of move them around in your organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not just that old school mentality of like, all right, I'm gonna turn wrenches for the rest of my life. Like, you have to get the younger generation in there and let them see all of the facets inside of fire protection, so they realize it's not just turning wrenches. You can do installation, you can do ITM, you can do project management, you can do design, you can do sales, you can start your own company after you do all those things at one company. There's a lot of opportunity in fire protection.
Well, and I think like in Toronto, more tower cranes than anywhere else in the world right now.
Really?
Absolutely. We've got an
it has
extra
been
work
for
that's
years.
just unbelievable right now. We got activity in every sector.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
it's
the
strong.
thing with that is you can have a guy doing his apprenticeship that has worked on the same high-rise building from the beginning of. He signed his ticket on day one. He ticketed out at the end, and all he did was the same building. Yeah, one tower.
And that hurts our industry
100%,
the
yeah.
most out of anything else.
Yep.
They're a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Don't
be
get me
good at this
wrong, they
trick.
might be able
We
to
have
pump out
companies-
25, 35 drops in a day, hard pipe. But you throw them into the valve room where they got to figure out,
Right.
reset this dry valve.
We've got companies that just specialize in that sort of work. They do high-rise condominium
Yeah.
construction, and that's what they do.
Yep.
And so when that market dries up, it's going to be interesting to see when they try and get out and do a warehouse.
It hurts
Something
us
else,
as
you
an
know.
industry
Yeah.
together. And it's just, and I know some of the companies that specialize in that, unfortunately, that's what they do, but it's really gonna kill us in the end. It's just because you're gonna send that guy out, he's not gonna know how to do a warehouse or a dry system. And then once we get to that point, then that's where the continuous education comes in.
Yeah, that's right.
And hopefully he has enough sense to say, okay, I wanna learn this, I'm gonna dive into it. That's where the continuing education then can take us to that next level.
I think another issue, maybe for everybody, maybe for the younger generations, is there's not that much attainable information out there. Like when I started in design, they were like, here's an FBA 13, here's a laptop with HydroCAD, figure it out. Now you have things like the podcast, Open Tape, Meyer Fire University. There's so much, like just Joe Meyer's website in general has so much information. There's a lot more information available to people now to kind of learn about the facets.
Yeah, that's another
you know.
huge shift,
And then,
with media technology. I mean,
Yeah, social media.
It's a huge shift.
Well, we're playing catch up. I mean, the electrical trades, the HVAC trades, the diesel mechanics, they've all been doing the stuff that we're experiencing now for years. In fact, we're kind of in competition with them. We do a lot of career fairs, and you've got to prove a lot to these younger folks, and even adults that are trying to look for a new career. I mean, there's a lot to prove to get past that, and we're kind of an untapped industry when it comes to careers
Agree.
in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I think we've seen more adult apprentice coming into the sprinkler
Yeah.
industry in the past 5 years
Yep.
than we have in the past probably 40.
What do you mean by adult? How old? How young?
I would say above 30. I've gotten 3 or 4. Like, I mean, we're just a small company, but I mean, you get a lot of.
Especially in the ITM world, we're getting. I mean, I remember when I was first when the AFSA training program first came out. I was one of the first instructors, and we were doing and we had a guy that was basically a dead end job. He was managing grocery stores, and it wasn't a bad job, but he wasn't what he wanted to do for the rest
Yeah.
of his life. He had a friend, because you always know somebody, right, to get into this industry. So, and here he was, going through the the ITM training program and doing well. But with his skills, I ran into him at AFSA when we were out in San Diego, and he was already managing the inspection department for the company that sent him to that, because he already had managerial skills. He already had all this stuff, and now he had all the technical knowledge. But some of the places we never thought about looking was the GED. Programs, or English as another language, or English as a second language. We never look, well, why are those people going in there to take GED? Why are they doing that? Why are they learning English or whatever? Because they want a better job.
Right, sure,
so there for
absolutely
a long time, we weren't even tapping that resource of going in and speaking to those folks. I had a real rare experience just last week where I went into a prison. They have a vocational training program inside of a prison where they teach plumbing, electrical, and in the plumbing program they're teaching some fire sprinkler, and had actually placed some of their the student population when they came out in the sprinkler industry.
Or,
So they said,
I mean, and I'll say it, probably a lot of people finishing their apprentices up there.
Yeah.
so I mean, it was a really
know what
great,
they did, I guess.
it was a great opportunity though. But the thing is though, they are looking for opportunities to learn something so they can show their parole board or whatever that they've got employable skills to come out to something better. So there's weird places to look.
Yeah.
And we have to get out of the old shell of, toot VSC's horn. We're doing a really good job. I mean, we have 2 high school interns right now, and their company's looking at us going, how are you doing that? And we have 3 registered youth apprentices. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, you can't work them under 18. Yes, you can. You can. You need to check your state Department of Labor rules. You'll probably be surprised what you can do with a youth apprentice.
I will honestly say that I've never stepped foot on a job site under the age of 18 working with my dad.
Never.
Never. No.
Well, first of all, that's typically not a rule. Most states,
It is in Ontario.
Labor.
Yeah, there's labor
Okay.
laws in Ontario, and we never broke them.
Easy. They might retrofit. They may come after you. But no, again, it's just an opportunity. And I was doing an event down in South Carolina with a major tech school down there, and I remember meeting the director, and he was talking to me. He says, we need you as much as you need us. They're looking for industry partners. They are looking for places to place these students. To borrow a phrase, they can't aspire to careers they've never heard of. And I have been introduced inside of education as we're one of the best kept secrets out there. We've got to stop being a secret.
That's great to know.
Yeah,
That is great to know.
We're a multi-trade, and we're cool. I mean, everybody looks at our trade and goes, that's really cool.
Come on, guys.
We're life
We are
saving,
cool.
we're environmental protect. We're all the things the young people are looking for, and we're standing over there like a bunch of Panamas.
I was going to say,
don't go see the weird guys over there in the corner.
one of the things I try to tell new people, like
I said the corner.
when they come into the industry, like no matter what you do, because I'm a distributor. I started years ago with a regional distributor. We were acquired by a larger entity. But one of the things I try to tell some of the younger people that come in is, you're in a very noble profession, and in my opinion, it doesn't matter to what extent you're within that profession. A lot of them are just moving paper. Some of them are doing operational stuff on the distribution end. Some people are actually installing. Some people are doing inspection, testing, maintenance. Some people are salespeople. No matter how you touch this industry, in my opinion, your profession is noble. Okay. And it's an old quote from was it Ed Croker? Chief Ed Croker said that. He said, "Look, at the end of the day, we fight fires. What we do is a noble thing." And so I do try to tell people that, younger people when they come in. I mean, I know it's what you guys are talking about is sort of another world from what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. We're on the distribution end. So one of the things that I do feel is very important is product training. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of product training because look, why is that?
Just the the tape and dope thing.
Yeah.
It's tape or dope. Everybody's tape and dope. It's
Yeah.
tape or dope. That's like
One or the other?
the
Yeah.
101 training thing. It's like, if you do both of those, you know, they're probably going to avoid your installation at least.
Yeah.
But it's exactly that. It's, you know, you get a head box full of sprinklers, and it comes with their spec sheet and the installations. Same thing with dry valves. I was out till 10 o'clock one night helping a tech set up a dry valve, and I was like, "Where's the setup sheet?" And he's like, "What?" Like he had already thrown the box and all of the paperwork, and I had never set up that type of valve.
Paperwork's
So I'm
there for a
like,
reason.
What do I do?
Aren't they all the same?
Yeah, exactly.
So that was just
it's-
packing material.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's definitely that continuous training you have to know.
Yeah.
And I mean, long gone are the days where it is like, pipe monkeys, right? It is a professional industry
Yes.
now that we're into.
Yeah,
I made the jokes about finishing their apprentices in jail, but that's, maybe back in the 70s, 80s, and before then, it was, I got nothing else to do. I guess I'm gonna labor. Now it's a skilled trade. There's a lot to learn. It's not just, pipe and fittings, right? If you've ever designed or installed a system that has actually worked, it's not pipe and fittings.
Well, it's on-job coordination. It's working with other trades. It's conflict resolution. It's critical thinking on a scale. You're putting together a jigsaw puzzle. You're
Yeah.
taking a yard full of pipe and getting it in the ceiling where it's supposed to be, and you have to deal with another trade that maybe somebody's measurement is off, or the drawings don't coordinate. You have to work with the superintendent. It's a lot of things that go into a successful installation, a successful build.
Well, one thing that's happened also is with, the push to maintain these systems.
Yeah.
We've opened up a whole nother career aspect
Yeah.
because you've got people that come into this industry to strictly be inspectors. They're not pipe hanging guys.
Yeah.
So, you're not force feeding a guy that can, stack a riser, rebuild a fire pump, and just make him an inspector. You've got people that are specifically trained for that arena.
Right.
But as far as we go, our guys are cross-trained in both.
Agreed, yeah.
So, I mean, our service department has 14 people right now, and we have guys that mainly do inspections, but they're the guys that are a little longer in the tooth.
Right. Their feet hurt being on the ladder all day.
Right,
Yeah.
but, they came from hanging that pipe, so they had that experience, they understood it, and they went into the day work and understood the service day work, and that's the progression also that you're talking about, that, hey, there's an avenue that you don't have to be slinging that 8-inch pipe.
Yeah.
My dad got in the trade in 1952, and he always said he needed a size 3 hat and a size 50 coat. Those days are gone. But now you can show them avenues where they can also get out of that and say, hey, you're not going to be hanging this 8-inch pipe when you're 50 plus years
Yeah.
old anymore. There is an avenue.
I still have a bruise in my shoulder, by the way. I don't know who else.
All the guys that have actually installed, their one shoulder sinks a little lower than the other ones when they're walking. Are you seeing the same things?
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody's cross-trained in Ontario for the
Yeah,
most part.
certainly cross-trained, and as well, that goes to special hazards as well. We do
Yeah.
all that work as well. We're doing all the gas systems, also the new vortex, that kind of thing. But again, it's a whole learning curve. Again, you got to keep your people trained and up to date with the current codes and requirements, and that's a key element. So we're lucky in Canada. Our industry association's real good, and so is the local hall. They're also putting on some good courses. Steve Steele does a great job with the training center
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
at the
Yeah.
union, and virtual training, LMS systems that our guys can go in and keep up to date with. So that's very proactive. Good participation from government, industry, again, where we're doing trade events in high schools. So again, we're trying to generate that activity and new bodies into the business. But yeah, it's a struggle all the way around to find and get good people.
Yeah, there's been more events and stuff like that set up within Ontario at the high schools, at the
Absolutely.
pre-college level, where they're trying to, I won't say catch those guys before they go to university, but
Try
yeah.
a trade is sort of the
Yeah,
program
absolutely.
we've been in, and we're doing it in Alberta. We've got another one we're running next week, and so right across the country with
Yep.
different groups, the union support, local government, and school boards. It's working well.
Hard hats, I think it's hard hats to helmets is
Yep.
another
Yeah,
one
is
that they're
another
doing.
one.
Is
Other
the
way around.
military
Helmets to
one.
hard hats.
Is the other way around?
Helmets to hard hats?
Helmets to hard hats.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that makes more sense.
One thing that's awesome
That makes more
is, just like we're here for this, training with General Air.
Yep.
A lot of the manufacturers are doing this sort of thing now, and you're not relying on the unions or the trade associations to give you all your training. I think it's awesome that the manufacturers are putting the dollars out there to give back to the industry, because it's only benefiting them in the long run. So
So, have you guys been here before? Like, did you know,
Oh, yeah.
I know you've been here before,
Yeah,
but I mean,
sure.
this is this is an air compressor manufacturer, and look at this. This
Right.
is the setup behind us, and there's
Yeah.
more over there. There's more, the fire pump set out here. This is the setup that the companies in this industry are putting into the trade.
Right.
This is incredible. This is a fantastic facility.
You look at the equipment. So anything that's wasn't manufactured by General Air was donated by these manufacturers. Was installed by local sprinkler contractors right out here. They did all this work in here.
Yep.
And you got video of the place, you got
Yeah.
photographs of the place. I mean, you see how extensive everything is in here. And, yeah, it's
Slightly
really great
distracting.
to yeah.
Turn some valves.
Yeah. Let's go to work. Let's play.
Exactly. It's a play studio for sprinkler people.
Awesome. So, I mean, we started going down the rabbit hole about the industry, and then we ran into a kind of a roadblock, and then went off the rails here, which I love to do. This is the kind of the joy of the podcast. Started out as a state of the industry, and ended up being like, how do we get people more involved in the
Well, I
trade?
think that's a big
earlier?
problem.
That about sums it up, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody final words?
I know, good luck. If you find a real good way to get more folks, let me know. We would appreciate any and all suggestions, because we're open. But that's, we're always looking to get good people, and it's a challenge.
I'm
And a struggle.
very hopeful, personally very hopeful, because things tend, pendulums swing.
Yep.
Vacuums create a space for something to happen. So I'm very, very optimistic. I'm very excited about what I see coming up here. I really am, because I think it's going to be easier and easier to persuade people coming up here. I kind of feel it like a I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Feel it in my bones. You know what I mean? I can't necessarily pinpoint, because let me tell you, day to day, especially I talk to a couple hundred people a week. I'm on the phone with people all week, and it can become discouraging. When you answer the same question for the 20th time to the same person, or but the reason I'm hopeful is because I am seeing a little glimmer of people getting excited about the possibilities, like to your point. Now, like I said, I'm in the distribution end. So you guys are talking about work opportunities created on the contracting end and engineering end, and I'm talking about opportunities within distribution. And I am seeing, some people approach me. They're interested in the product. And to me, that, when it comes to being a distributor, the product knowledge, understanding how the product works, understanding what's available, and being able to communicate that to contractors, that is your ticket up in distribution.
Well, so we do a fire protection career fair in Virginia. The Virginia chapter does it, and we invite our distribution and manufacturer members. If they wish to come, they get a table right alongside, and they're free to recruit, because that only helps us in the long run. If we have young people that are interested in distribution or manufacturing, welding, on the fabrication side, that still helps us.
Sure.
So that you guys have been with us. You're there. It's not just a contractor career fair. We make it open to all members. And this last time we were going for bulk, but this last time they screened the students. So we had less students, but they met certain criteria. So we had 180, where last year we had close to 300. The difference was this 180 that came through were pre-screened, and everybody that was there said the engagement was way up. I mean, the students were really at the table, asking questions, picking up things, doing stuff, asking really great questions and that sort of thing. So it was the school, helping us. In other words, and that's, years ago, a friend of mine told me, he goes, if you like to fish, you got to fish where the fish are. So unless somebody tells me where to, there's buildings out here full of teenagers that are going to need some kind of a job when they graduate or coming out. And if somebody comes up with a better mousetrap, I'm all ears. But we have to get in there and start talking with them.
Whole crew of people with work boots and wrenches in their hands waiting to go to work.
So, but I mean, like I said, the opportunity, but like I say, not all schools cut from the same cloth. You're gonna get. You can sit there and say, man, I could lay out, I could talk through our successes. Everybody's like, wow. But if you unroll the map and go, what about here? Well, can't get a phone call back, or, can't get anything going, or haven't started there yet.
Well, we've partnered with this one particular school district, and they've been very proactive in establishing what we're trying to achieve within their trade folks. But we've also been met with some opposition, because there's still a mentality out there that we don't know what sprinklers are, We're going to try to promote our kids to go to college, that sort of thing. So, I mean, by no means have we been totally successful. We've had a few school systems that have jumped right in, and you know, we need to do that all around the country to help this industry as a whole. So,
I mean, Henrico County outside of Richmond has been a fabulous partner. But their CTE director, we're convinced he just drives down the road and sees something cool and stops and goes, how can I connect my students to this? I mean, we're convinced that's how he operates. But also Anne Arundel County, Maryland, has been a tremendous partner for us. In Maryland, these are career and technical education directors, and like I say, there are other schools I'm leaving out, but these are two that shine where they've almost given us keys to the kingdom. Come on in, we will make our students successful. We will allow you to come in and do things with them. We set up hands-on demonstrations, let the students get involved. We have them running pipe. We have them running fire alarm wiring to a mock-up panel and let them see it. Our creative people have come up with ways of setting off fire sprinklers in a building and not make a mess. I mean, we've got some people that have come up with some pretty tremendous ideas to go in there and recruit. And it helps, when they can connect it and they say, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they walk away and go, maybe not for me, but I got this friend. All right, well, you tell that friend to come talk to us.
That's right, yeah.
And even the schools are even doing a lot better with that. We have a high school that's one of the biggest around my area, and they're building a vocation school.
Yeah.
And we have another one downtown. Actually, I had went to it. My whole family has been in this trade, so I kind of knew where I was going, but I went down there anyways. But, and we actually have a retiree and the former business agent. We donated pipe. They actually go down there, have some underground stuff. They put it together. They show them how to thread pipe and stuff. So just like you're saying, it's hands-on. And when this other vocation school gets built, we're already chomping at the bit to get in there and maybe set up a little demonstration lab, and they're all about it. So I think the schools also doing the vocation and helping that is going to bring a lot more to us also.
Now, you talking about a private vocational school or a public?
No, this is a public. So
These are public. These are public schools.
And
the problem is they don't have staff that knows how. They don't have the curriculum, so we have to do a lot of babysitting to get them there.
And that's where I think the retirees can also help us.
Right.
You can take a
for sure.
retiree and say, hey, donate me, one day a month. And because the students are going to be doing a lot of different things at times. Donate me a little bit of time. And, they've every retiree I've ever met's got really cool stories. Now, half of them you can't tell, but the ones you can tell, the kids will be very, very interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And like you say, you do have to kind of set that curriculum. And even if you can get some of the retirees involved in coming in once a week, once every 2 weeks or something like that, just doing a quick kind of sprinkler overlay. You're not teaching them spacing of sprinklers and water flow and stuff like that, but just the general idea, kind of getting in their head that what we're doing is it's not just pipe and fittings, it's protecting property and life. And that's the way to get
message,
people
man.
involved.
Yeah,
right?
that is the message.
Yeah, it's not about fittings. It's all just pipe and fittings until it goes into the system. And then it's fire protection.
Right.
Well, and show them the difference between lawn sprinklers and fire sprinklers. Lawn sprinklers save your grass. Fire sprinklers save your grass.
Yeah.
So
That's good. I like that one.
Saving lawns.
That's right.
Ain't what we do.
Awesome. I think that was a pretty good round table. I think we touched on a lot of points, and like we say, if anybody has any other suggestions or something like that, call it in, because it's we're all in this together. We're all maybe from different competing companies here and organizations, but everybody's here for Sprinkler, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank you.
coming on and
Thank
talking
you.
Sprinkler.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's great, man. Cool.
That's real good.
Awesome.
Real pleasure, actually.
Yeah.